My name is Dilip Sarangan. Thanks everyone for joining us here today to go through the connected building side of IoT. I just want to do a brief introduction about myself, Frost Sullivan, and what's going on in IoT or what to expect in the next year or so. And then we jump into our first panel session right after that. My name is Dilip Sarangan, and I run the Internet of Things program for Frost Sullivan. I've been covering IoT in its various iterations over the last 12 years or so, including starting initially with buildings and security technologies. So, okay. So I know you guys have seen different slides over the last few days related to, what IoT really is. This is how Frost & Sullivan kind of looks at things. Okay. So IoT, basically, we all know that it's going to have a massive impact on businesses, consumers, governments. A lot of it is because of the availability of ubiquitous connectivity today and the ability to integrate different enterprise management solutions. Every person in the world is going to be affected by IoT, no matter whether they're consumers or businesses or people that work in different businesses or even in the government. And traditional business models, as we've known them, are going to be disrupted over the next few years. And I think buildings is a great example of where we're going to see a lot of disruption from traditional way of doing building automation systems to IP and moving into the whole IoT realm. So one of the things that a lot of companies do need to do is completely change or redefine their digital strategies to make sure that they remain relevant in the future. And it's either they continue to evolve or completely perish in the next decade or two. So our view of that IoT ecosystem. So on the left side, just looking at the different applications, different things that we as a company cover in IoT. And on the right side, the ecosystem of how different things kind of play into the market. So we have, we cover everything from chips and modules going out to enterprise systems integration, layered with security, cloud, storage, data analytics, all those different levels within the IoT ecosystem. So this is just another way of looking at things in terms of the ecosystem, looking at all the different technologies that kind of play a big role in there, and also the vertical market expertise in the different areas. A couple of our biggest groups that actually cover this are the building technology and security group and the connected homes and consumer electronics pieces. So just a quick look at some of the things that we're going to really see from IoT. So our first prediction is IoT evolves from the use of sentient tools. So initially the first stage of it was IoT 0.0, which was just machine-to-machine communications. This was back about 5 to 8 years ago, when the focus was all about connectivity and making sure that there was availability of connectivity for different systems. That has changed over the last few years, and now we're in the world of the Internet of Things, where we're looking at things from a cloud computing perspective or platforms. It's not just about connecting devices, but moving away from connections to all the services that get layered around it and all the different technologies that enable organizations and consumers to make sense of the data that they're collecting using different connected sensors. And in the future, we're going to move away from that. And we're already starting to see some movement in this direction. But we're moving away from just gathering data and analyzing data to more predictive computing and real-time analysis with the use of fog computing and edge and centralized processing in different iterations. Now, cognitive, it's the new smart. I think everyone who's been part of the building industry understands smart buildings and smart technology from over the last 10 years. But now it's use of AI and AR to actually transform smart devices to devices that react to changes in the environment. And so it's going away from just the traditional way of looking at things and to using this machine learning and artificial intelligence to actually have, we're going to finally start seeing some of these solutions that will integrate applications with machine learning and AI. And we can actually start talking about getting some tangible results from IoT solutions as opposed to talking about IoT as a vision. Then platforms getting commoditized. So this layer on the side there, which is the service enablement and platforms, that's a layer where you find not just the platform from the standpoint of application development, but also service enablement. And what we're going to start seeing, and we've already seen some hints in the last year that this is going to happen with companies like IBM, Amazon, and Google, and Microsoft actually opening up their platforms so different organizations and different application developers can really start building applications and creating those building blocks for IoT solutions. And we're going to start seeing these platforms start getting more commoditized, and we're going to see a lot of consolidation in the market. So anyone who's a platform developer, probably a nice time to be able to talk to some of the bigger players because they would be looking to consolidate, because right now there's a lot of fragmentation in this space, and it's really hard for anyone to generate a large amount of revenues just because of the amount of fragmentation and the lack of visibility from an enterprise customer standpoint. Then, obviously, we see some of the bigger players right now, guys like IBM Bluemix, Azure, Amazon Web Services, SAP, Samsung and SmartThings, and PTC ThingWorks. These are some of the bigger players that have been making some moves over the last couple of years to really establish themselves, and they've kind of led a lot of the movement towards platforms getting commoditized. And we're going to see this continue to go on, and we're going to see more and more, a few other bigger players join that race. But it's going to be I think the bigger play is going to be integration with enterprise systems. So companies having relationships in that realm with different enterprises, they're going to start making bigger plays and start creating the ecosystem for everyone to develop IoT-based solutions. I think this is one of the cooler ones that we've seen over the last couple of years. Drone deliveries. There's a lot of conversation about it. Nobody really knows from an FTC standpoint or from a air traffic control standpoint what's going to happen in the US. But we're starting to move in that direction. Amazon and Walmart have both made some deliveries over the last few months. So we know that this is something that they're all moving towards. AT&T and Qualcomm have been testing drones for commercial delivery, but also use of drones for monitoring remote wildfires, cell towers, electric lines, etc. So right now, it's about lobbying the government agencies and Congress to actually create some rules and regulations and allow for drone deliveries to become reality, or the use of drones to become reality, away from that whole consumer space of recreation use to business uses for drones that are probably in the 40-pound and above weight limit. So secure, and I kind of think of IoT as a security hazard today. It's not because, with billions of network devices already out there and a potential of a few more billion being added over the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to see more and more of these devices actually be that security hazard, which would lead to potentially a hacking into the nuclear power plant, smart grid, or even from a consumer standpoint into connected cars. And with all these devices that are actually there, we do have to think of IoT security as a national hazard, or it is a national security hazard, and we do have to look at it in that sense. So the government does need to start creating some frameworks in terms of a minimum kind of threshold that companies must adhere to, because with hundreds and thousands of application developers and hardware vendors out there, not every device is going to go through that same rigorous level of testing, and not every device is going to be encrypted with won't have that high level of encryption that would actually prevent them being the backdoors into a network. Another one, this kind of really goes into where we've seen the idea of smart cities and also with smart buildings. Right now, we're looking at cars and homes kind of coming together. So it's not just about consumer technology in the home, but about providing mobility, going into work, also how people live their lives. And buildings and workplaces actually are a big piece of this. And so we're starting to already see the convergence of the home and car. And I think over the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing that work and play become a lot less. There's more gray areas in between. And these are two things that will start coming together even more. So people would have to start thinking about how some of the IoT technologies and the different kinds of solutions that are available in the home can be moved over into the car, into different office buildings and workplaces to actually create that seamless transition from work to play to home. Speaking of work and play, we have the personal assistant. And we've already seen the personal assistant from Amazon. We've seen Amazon Echo released in 2015. Google launched Google Home last year. So did Apple with Siri for MacBooks. Now, the next stage is Microsoft's launching its own AI personal assistant speakers with Harman Kardon that just got acquired recently by Samsung. What we expect this year is more services actually start getting integrated with personal assistants. I think a few years ago, everyone was talking about Apple HomeKit and Google's products to actually integrate home security sensors and or home alarm monitoring systems, door sensors, window brakes, all of the doorbell, all of that stuff onto the Android and iOS platforms. But now we're really looking at integrating with the personal assistants. So it's voice control and using AR and AI to actually control different aspects of the home. And over time, we're going to start seeing some of this actually translate into businesses as well, as we get more and more of businesses actually embracing AI and machine learning. And the last prediction that I had was about fog computing. I think I talked about this in the beginning with distributed computing and distributed processing. So we're going to start seeing more and more of semi-autonomous IoT applications and the use of technology, use of fog computing to actually move away from just data analytics to moving into the world of real-time analysis for different systems. So companies and organizations can make decisions in real time and start looking at things from a more preventative or prescriptive way. So with that, I want to thank you guys for being here today to join us.